Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar, Expanding Your Toolkit, Strategies to Support People with Mental Health Conditions in Workforce Programs. I'm Sarah Loazzo. I work as the Technical Assistance Manager for National Disability Institute and through the Lead Center, and I will be your moderator for today. We are really looking forward to today's webinar, and I think you will too. This is going to be a very important conversation, and we have an excellent set of panelists. Move to the housekeeping slide, please. So to ensure that everyone can participate fully in our webinar today, I'd like to just take a moment and share a few captioning and housekeeping tips. Today's webinar is live captioned, and the captions appear below the slide deck. You also have the option to open the captioning webpage in a new browser, and the links have been posted in the chat, or they will be momentarily. Once the captioning window opens on your own system, you can adjust the background color, the text color, and the fonts using the drop-down menus at the top of the browser window. We suggest you position the window to sit right on top of the embedded captioning to allow you to see the screen itself. Today's webinar will be recorded, and the archive and supporting materials will be placed on the Lead Center website under recent and upcoming events within 10 business days. Next slide, please. We love questions, and we really encourage you to ask any questions that you might have at any point today over any of the content that's covered. At any point, you can click the Q&A button that's located on the webinar's menu bar, and this will bring up a question and answers panel or a window to which you can type questions for our presenters. We will save time at the end, hopefully, for a question and answer period. But please, anytime you think of a question, please add it to that box. If you have a technical question or there's a technical issue, please use the chat box and somebody from our support team will be there to help you. Okay, thank you. Next slide. So to set the stage for today's discussion, I am pleased to introduce Richard Davis, Senior Policy Advisor on the Workforce Systems Policy Team at the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. Richard Davis is a Senior Policy Advisor on the Workforce Systems Policy Team at the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. Richard works across government agencies to align policy to support competitive integrated employment. He has primary responsibility for a number of federal policy initiatives focused specifically on promoting the employment and socioeconomic advancement of youth and adults with disabilities, including the department's National Expansion of Employment, or NEON initiative. Richard, I know that you and I have both been looking forward to this event, and I will leave it to you now. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the introduction. Hello, and thank you to everyone for attending today's Lead Center webinar on expanding your toolkit strategies to support people with mental health conditions and workforce programs. As was mentioned, I'm Richard Davis, a Senior Policy Advisor at the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy. ODEP, just to give you a little bit of background on us, we're required by law to provide leadership, develop policy initiatives, and award grants furthering the objective of eliminating barriers to the training and employment of people with disabilities. ODEP develops and promotes policies and coordinates with employers and all levels of government to increase workplace success for people with disabilities and those with mental health conditions. ODEP assists individuals and helps businesses and states adopt policies and practices that increase employment opportunities for people with disabilities, including those with significant disabilities, in order to assist them into employment and reduce reliance on federal benefit programs. In my role at ODEP, as was mentioned, I work with partners across government agencies with primary responsibility for policy initiatives such as the NEON initiative, as well as the former Advancing State Policy Integration for Recovery and Employment, or ASPIRE initiative, which had a focus on mental health conditions in particular. On a personal level, I also have bipolar 1 disorder myself, so I can speak from lived experience about the benefits of having employment over the years as part of my own success strategy for treatment and recovery when it comes to managing my own mental health. Today's webinar topic is aligned with the administration's priority to improve job opportunities and economic growth for all Americans, including those with mental health conditions. Recognizing employment as a vital social determinant of health underscores its significance in the overall well-being of individuals. By prioritizing employment as a fundamental aspect of treatment and recovery, we can better support the working age population with the national mental health system. And when it comes to supporting those with mental health conditions, employment, we really want to emphasize shouldn't be seen as just some kind of long distance possibility that folks maybe eventually will be ready for. And instead, we really want to refocus employment and see it as an expectation and a priority from the beginning of treatment for folks and every step of their way toward recovery, which is where today's webinar comes in, that folks should be consistently getting that message about employment from all those working with them, from the medical treatment teams to workforce professionals as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our presenters. Thank you for taking the time to present on this topic today, and they'll talk a bit more about expanding your toolkit, strategies to support people with mental health conditions, and workforce programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your sharing the opening remarks and really helping us to get this started. So move to the next slide, please. So today we've got 3 learning objectives, and hopefully you'll hear from these presenters today a little bit more of the details, but we're going to explore the importance of recognizing and supporting the mental health needs of job seekers, both directly and in collaboration with partners. We will learn from colleagues in the field who are implementing effective mental health strategies within American job centers and other workforce programs. And third, we will explore strategies and best practices to support the mental health and well-being of job center customers and staff. Next slide, please. It is so exciting to talk about the set of panelists that we will be hearing from today. Later on, we're going to hear from 2 disability resource coordinators located in New York, David Kelly and Lindsay Murphy, who are both leading work in the field to create a really responsive service model to support job seekers with mental health conditions. But first, I would like to introduce our next speaker, Annie Lorenz. Annie Lorenz serves as Training and Technical Assistance Manager at the National Disability Institute and works with me as well at the Lead Center. Annie brings over 15 years of experience in workforce development, mental health services, and disability advocacy. Her work focuses on implementing evidence-based practices across workforce and behavioral health systems, and she is passionate about building employment opportunities for those with mental health conditions. Annie is definitely an expert. I have learned from her, and I'm really excited that you'll get to hear from her now. Annie, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for the warm introductions. And Richard, thank you for opening the webinar in such a powerful way. It is so important that we're talking about mental health in the workforce because mental health touches every community and it affects how people prepare for, pursue, and maintain employment. According to the CDC, 1 in 5 adults experiences a mental health condition each year. And the 2023 SAMHSA report shows that nearly half of adults with a substance use disorder also have a co-occurring mental health condition. These numbers represent real people, and many of them are accessing services from American job centers. That means every day, many professionals across workforce and community service settings are likely interacting with individuals who may have a mental health condition. And yet only 7.4% of WIOA adult participants report having a disability. That gap tells us something important. Many people with mental health conditions are not disclosing. Some people may not have a formal diagnosis. Some may not even realize that what they're experiencing has a name. Others may choose not to share out of fear of judgment, exclusion, or stigma. This is a key reason we talk about mental health conditions and hidden disabilities, like anxiety, depression, PTSD, or bipolar disorder. These aren't always visible, but they impact how someone navigates the world, including employment. A mental health condition is simply a set of action that affects a person's thoughts, emotions, or behaviors. It's often shaped by life experiences, stress, trauma, or even systemic barriers. And as workforce professionals, we play a vital role, not just in helping people find careers, but by creating an environment where people feel seen, supported, and capable of achieving their goals. Next slide. This session is about practical strategies to help better support individuals with mental health conditions. Mental health and employment are deeply connected. Working, having employment, has been proven to improve mental health and aid in recovery. Work is so important, it's called a determinant of mental health because it plays such a big role in shaping how we feel day to day. When someone has a good job, it gives us structure, a routine, a purpose, a reason to get up, and income, money to meet our needs. These things help everyone feel more secure and confident, which supports better mental health. I know that's true for me. But when someone's out of work or stuck in a toxic or an unstable job, it can lead to stress, anxiety, or depression. That's because financial pressure, lack of direction, or feeling unappreciated at work can really wear a person down. So when we say working impacts mental health, we mean that your job situation can strongly affect emotional well-being, for better or worse. Every day, workforce professionals across the country are meeting with individuals who are seeking jobs while simultaneously navigating life. And sometimes that includes mental health conditions, substance use disorder, or because they are facing significant life challenges. Next slide. And all of this makes up our mental health. We often think of mental health only when something feels off. But the truth is, everyone has mental health, just like physical health. It's a part of being human. And our mental well-being is shaped by stress, relationships, health, work, and more. And the good news is, you don't have to be a mental health expert to make a difference. Your awareness, empathy, and small supportive actions can help create a more welcoming, empowering space for every job seeker who comes through your doors. When we recognize signs, respond respectfully, and connect people to the right resources, we help them move forward, not just in employment, but in their life. Next slide. So let's talk a strategy. Today's goal is to strengthen our ability to recognize, respond to, and support mental health needs of job seekers. And now we know that mental health is not separate from employment success, it's foundational. By remembering to recognize, respond, and support consumers, we can better support individuals with mental health conditions. We're going to cover some real-world examples, useful tips, and how to connect people with the right supports. Next slide. The first step is to recognize. And now we know that mental health conditions are common among job seekers and can impact how individuals prepare for, pursue, and maintain employment. Let's discuss how to recognize some common signs. Some disabilities are visible, like when we see someone using a wheelchair. Others are less visible, like depression, PTSD, or anxiety. Disability doesn't always look one way. So how do we recognize signs someone may need support? Sometimes having a mental health condition can affect communication and engagement. Some common signs to look for: noticeable withdrawal, verbal or nonverbal expressions of distress. Someone may cry or have a panic attack. Low motivation or confidence in their abilities. Someone may struggle to think of a job goal. Excessive fears, worries, or anxieties. These are not diagnoses. These are signs that someone may benefit from additional support. And it's not required to be a mental health professional, but noticing the patterns can open the door to support job seekers. Sometimes customers may have trouble with time management or follow through, difficulty focusing or remembering information. For example, someone may have multiple missed appointments or is consistently late to their appointments. They may say they're overwhelmed or they're struggling with planning. These can be signs that additional support could help them stay engaged and moving forward towards their employment goal. Understanding this helps us engage more effectively and compassionately. Recognizing signs improves awareness. And when we have awareness, we can spot signs earlier, respond with empathy, and connect people to the right resources without judgment. Next slide. So how do we respond? Often, workforce staff are a first point of contact in someone's employment journey. You've now learned ways to recognize possible signs of mental health stress. This next step is how we respond. You're not expected to diagnose or solve everything, but how you listen, respond, and refer can make a lasting difference. You're on the front lines of support, and small shifts like validating someone's experience or avoiding judgmental language can help individuals feel safe and supported. Once we recognize the signs of mental health stress, it's important to respond in a way that builds trust, and that often starts with addressing stigma. Stigma isn't just about language, it's about tone, assumptions, and access. Sometimes people delay or avoid treatment or employment services because of stigma, fear of being judged, misunderstood, or excluded from opportunities. That hesitation can affect both mental health and employment success. The good news, workforce staff can help by fostering openness and reducing stigma. What does that look like? Let's look at an example. A job seeker with a diagnosed mental health condition shared that she delayed seeking help because she feared being seen as unstable or unreliable, especially when discussing her gaps in employment. She worried it would affect her eligibility for training or services. Once staff at the AJC took the time to listen without judgment and reassured her that many people experience mental health condition, she began to open up. That shift helped her re-engage with employment planning and eventually get placed into an excellent job opportunity. Stigma is one of the biggest barriers to customers seeking support. We all can and should normalize these conversations by treating mental health like any other job readiness factor, because it is. And when we reduce stigma, we open doors. When people know they can be honest without fear, they are more likely to seek help. And that leads to better outcomes in both mental health and employment. Next slide. Now that we've talked about stigma, let's focus on what we can do right now to help reduce it. You don't need to be a therapist to have a meaningful impact. How you listen, respond, and refer can be the moment that helps someone feel seen, understood, and hopeful. Small, intentional actions create safer spaces. When we listen actively and with empathy, people feel respected, not rushed. Using neutral, respectful language, we show we're here to support, not judge. By recognizing distress early, we can gently offer resources before a person disengages or gives up. If we normalize supports, we help reduce shame, just like how we recommend physical therapy for a back injury. And when we offer safe, stigma-free interactions, we send a clear message: your mental health matters here. Now, these may seem like small steps, but together they create trust, and trust builds connection. That's how people move from surviving to thriving, and how we support both employment and mental well-being. Next slide. As we've discussed, mental health conditions often show up as patterns in a person's thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, especially when those patterns begin to interfere with how they function day to day. And the reality is, these signs aren't always verbalized. You might not hear someone say they're anxious or depressed. Instead, you might notice they're missing appointments, avoiding groups, or struggling to stay organized. It's important to keep in mind, you don't need to diagnose or fix the issue, but often behavior is communication. Sometimes what looks like resistance might actually be fatigue. What seems like disinterest may be depression. And by viewing behavior through a mental health informed lens, we can better support the whole person in front of us. It helps us support the person to stay connected to their career goals. On this chart are a few examples you may have already seen in your work and how they might show up in everyday interactions. These aren't rare or extreme scenarios. These are realistic, relatable examples from the field. Someone who's overwhelmed may cancel a meeting. You could support them by creating a structured schedule, sending reminders, and normalize routine building challenges. A person may avoid a workshop but show up for a one-on-one meeting. Offering individual appointments or providing a virtual or low stimulation alternative is a supportive intervention. Next slide. A few more examples. A customer may ask the same question multiple times, not because they're trying to be difficult, but because they're anxious and they want to get it right. We can help continue employment services when we provide reassurance, clarify next steps, and allow them time to process information. If someone is quiet, disengaged, or avoids eye contact, we can offer open-ended questions while we are expressing patience and availability. It's helpful to see these behaviors not as problems to correct, but as clues that someone may need a little extra support, encouragement, or flexibility. And here's a key takeaway. When we have this kind of awareness, we can respond earlier with empathy and connect people with the right resources before they disengage or give up on their employment journey. Next slide. So now that we've talked about how to recognize signs and how to respond with empathy, let's focus on how to offer effective support that helps individuals stay engaged and move forward in their employment journey. You don't need to be a clinician, just someone who listens and opens the right doors. Many of you already partner with mental health providers or have referral systems in place. This is an opportunity to activate those networks and build trust. You're also not expected to diagnose, just to notice when someone may benefit from additional support. You might say something like, sometimes it helps to talk with someone who specializes in managing stress or emotions while job searching. Would you like help connecting to a resource? And that brings us to a common question. Yes, job searching is stressful for nearly everyone, but when someone's stress begins to interfere with their ability to follow through, communicate, or stay engaged, it may be more than just a rough day. That's when offering support becomes both appropriate and potentially life-changing. So, when might you suggest supportive services? It's appropriate when a customer shares concerns openly. For example, they mention feeling overwhelmed, stuck, or hopeless. Stressors are clearly interfering with job goals. Maybe they're having trouble following through on steps or missing appointments. You notice barriers that go beyond typical employment challenges. For example, a customer might bring up things like substance use, panic attacks, or ongoing depression. Partnering with local providers, like community mental health centers, creates a stronger safety net. Connecting with community stakeholders and partners to create a hub of support can help people not only get hired, but stay hired. Next slide. When someone shares they're overwhelmed or struggling, that's not a sign of resistance. It's often a sign that they're doing their best while carrying a lot. A simple check-in like, would it help to talk through some extra supports, can open the door to real connection and trust. This isn't about non-compliance or someone not trying hard enough. These moments may be signals that someone needs a little more support to stay on track. So what happens next? That's where effective referrals come in. A strong referral process respects privacy. It offers choices, not assumptions, and leans on the partnerships you've built in your community. Many of you are already doing this through co-enrollment strategies. One especially helpful approach is the Integrated Resource Team, or IRT model. This model brings together key community partners to work collaboratively with a job seeker, sharing responsibility for supporting their employment and well-being goals. And here's an important reminder. Mental health conditions don't always look the same. Not every missed appointment or quiet moment is a red flag. But when patterns emerge, that's your cue to offer resources and let the person know help is available. And you don't have to do it alone. Our guest speakers joining us shortly will share powerful examples of how partnering across systems can make a lasting impact for individuals navigating mental health conditions and pursuing employment. Next slide. Your actions matter. When we lead with recognition and respect, we build engagement. When we connect people to the right supports, We help them stay involved with their employment goals. And when workforce services are reliable and responsive, outcomes improve for job seekers, staff, employers, and entire community. Today's goal is clear: to strengthen our ability to recognize, respond to, and support the mental health needs that can impact employment success. And mental health is not separate from employment. It's a key factor in whether someone can prepare for, obtain, and keep a job. By reducing stigma and connecting people to the right resources, we help more individuals move towards stability, recovery, and employment. Up next, you'll hear from Lindsay and David, who are applying these strategies on the ground, working across workforce programs and with community partners to help individuals with mental health conditions stay engaged in employment and recovery. Thank you for your role in this work. Your awareness, consistency, and commitment directly support better employment outcomes. Now, I'll hand it back to Sarah to introduce our next presenters.
Thank you so much, Annie. And I love what you shared, especially about normalizing services and supports. Many years ago, when I worked in a job center, I used to tell customers I worked with all of the time, everybody needs support. I need support to get out the door in the morning sometimes. So that is really such an important thing to remember. I really appreciate all the strategies you shared. They were so helpful and practical. So I am now excited to introduce you to two really fantastic presenters who are going to share the work they're doing in New York State to further support people with mental health conditions in the workforce systems. David Kelly is a disability resource coordinator for the Finger Lakes Workforce Board in Geneva, New York. His background includes youth career center services, criminal justice employment services, and disability employment services. David holds a bachelor's in social science with a focus in criminal justice. And along with David today is another disability resource coordinator, Lindsay Murphy. Lindsay Murphy is with Rochester Works, and she is the disability resource coordinator for that agency since 2022. Prior to being in this position, she provided support to individuals with disabilities through supported employment, transitional, and pre-employment programs under Access VR in New York. Lindsay holds a master's degree in mental health counseling and has primarily worked with those with mental health field, deaf and hard of hearing, and those on the autism spectrum disorder. However, Lindsay works to ensure that each person who receives services in Rochester Works is provided accessible and is accessible to every job seeker, my apologies, and provides employment resources to individuals with disabilities. Both David and Lindsay work under New York's Scion program, which they'll tell you a little bit about when they present. And Lindsay is also certified in mental health first aid, and she's a work incentives practitioner. So David and Lindsay, I will stop talking and the floor is yours. Welcome. I'm excited to have you here today.
Sorry about this. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Sarah, for that introduction. I am struggling with my voice, so I will be in and out intermittently to cough and to drink. But as we were introduced, yes, my name is David Kelly. I work for the Finger Lakes region. Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. Lindsay Murphy, Disability Resource Coordinator for Monroe County here at Rochester Works.
Next slide, please. As we're aware, American Job Centers, for us, I refer to them as workforce development centers. So every DRC that we work that is here in New York State is attached to our career centers out of our local areas. Some of us cover more than others. So just for example, I cover 5 different centers where Lindsay covers 1. We really focus on these key things where you can set up one-on-one appointments either with DRCs, employment counselors, or other people who might be there. Then we offer career guidance. We have resource rooms, which will include accessible materials, assistive technology that might assist you, and computers for online search for employment purposes. Every region has different training grants or training programs that we try to run. We offer localized workshops, and we have our own localized partnerships that we work with as well. Next slide, please. As Sarah introduced, me and Lindsay are a part of the New York Scion program, which is called the Systems Change and Inclusive Opportunities Network. And out of this network, it has allowed us to put disability resource coordinators around New York State. And our DRCs act as a resource for staffs at these centers regarding work with job seekers with disabilities. We aim to strengthen relationships with businesses to promote the hiring of job seekers with disabilities and provide resources and supports for implementing accommodations in the workplace. We help coordinate and facilitate the integrated resource teams that we host in our localized areas. We are fully involved with the Ticket to Work program and helping people get attached to that. We're all benefits advisors as well, so we're working set as practitioners, and we host our own disability-specific workshops, localized as well. Next slide, please.
All right, so I'm here to talk a little bit about our strategies that we've been using across the state to support both customers and staff. So across New York, DRCs are working to provide training to Career Center staff in all of our respective areas. So for example, here at Rochester Works, we've held trainings with guest speakers on topics related to mental health, autism, Tourette syndrome, and many more. Additionally, representatives from agencies who support these populations have presented on their services and how to connect our customers to them and potentially refer back and forth. This is to provide better services to our customers, as any staff can provide this information to somebody they're working with rather than referring everyone just to one person. So we're not funneling everybody to the DRC. We are helping to educate everybody in the Career Center to best help customers. So we are also currently in the process of developing a protocol for when customers might be in crisis at the Career Centers, which we've had happen before. So we have staff here who are experienced in the mental health field, and we're in the process of creating those resources to provide to customers, as well as training for staff on best assisting that person when they're here in our center. So at Rochester Works, I also participate in a committee where part of our goals are to make sure that our programs and physical site are accessible by all. So as part of that committee, we've developed an accommodation request form. This is now included in all welcome packets that customers receive the first day they register with us, so that it's normalized for anybody coming into our Career Center and can request that accommodation. So on that form, we include examples of different types of accommodations available, including a very simple one where they can just check off that they'd like to meet in a private space. So if somebody might get easily overwhelmed by a busy cubicle environment, which is where appointments traditionally occur, or maybe they just want more privacy to have conversations with their counselor. So there's also an option to request a meeting with myself. So as a DRC, we can review options for participating in services and determine what might help serve them best at our center. We've discussed how accommodations like this can benefit many types of customers, and that's incorporating the concept of universal design into the Career Center. So David mentioned some of our workshops. So locally here, we offer workshops on disability and disclosure. We have a disability job search group, and we also have a workshop called Increase Your Income. So some of these workshops are talking about how to bring up the topic of a disability or mental health condition to an employer, which can be kind of a confusing subject for job seekers to know how to approach this. So we give them all kinds of information on what is, the Americans with Disabilities Act. How does that allow individuals to request reasonable accommodations with their employer, and how to kind of speak that employer language when having this discussion. The other workshop I mentioned, Increase Your Income, that is about benefits advisement. So as David mentioned, we are work incentive practitioners, meaning that we're trained in how to best assist somebody who's receiving disability benefits, whether SSI, SSDI, whether they have Medicaid or Medicare, and have questions or concerns about returning back to work. We can provide guidance on how working would impact those benefits. We want to highlight locally here, we have what's called the Enhanced Recovery Services Program, so ERS for short. So ERS is working to address the opioid health crisis in Monroe County by helping to facilitate a pathway to economic independence for those in substance use disorder recovery and or with mental health challenges. Furthermore, it's helped address the critical shortage in professional staff certified to treat individuals in the fields of recovery, mental health, and prevention. So this program was actually, it served as a model for the rest of the state and was awarded the 2022 Workforce Program Award by New York Association of Training and Employment Professionals, or NIATEP for short. So that was exciting. So since 2019, this program has assisted participants to achieve professional credentials and or employment in their desired field. And depending on the training and career path chosen, participants will work with that program staff for a minimum of 9 months and up to 2 years. So across New York State, DRCs are partnering with other mental health agencies. So some examples of that is that we're partnering with PROS programs and IPS models. So PROS stands for Personalized Recovery Oriented Services, and it's a comprehensive team-based mental health program integrating rehabilitation, treatment, and support services for adults with serious mental illness. So PROS is flexible, person-centered, and recovery-oriented, as the name states. So services are provided at the program site and in the community. So we partner with them to provide some training, on, again, disability and disclosure. We'll do benefits advisement. We know we can kind of refer back and forth for customers to best receive services. The IPS model I mentioned is individualized placement and support, and that's an evidence-based model of supported employment specifically designed for individuals with mental health conditions, particularly those with serious mental illness. So IPS helps people find and maintain competitive employment that aligns with their career goals and preferences. It differs from traditional vocational programs by integrating employment support directly with mental health treatment and focusing on rapid job placement. So again, we're assisting with these programs by Annie mentioned the integrated resource teams earlier. So some of these staff from these agencies might be incorporated into that IRT, and we're kind of creating that team of support around the individual to help them get towards their employment goals. And next slide. Okay. So as David had mentioned, we are providing support and connections with employers in our areas as well. So we have been providing some events. So we've partnered together, David and I, in different areas. We kind of partnered regionally. We've done local events. We partner a lot with Access VR, so New York State Vocational Rehabilitation. So we've covered topics, everything from just general disability etiquette to the role of AI and its impact on inclusive hiring. And then something we wanted to highlight was just a couple months ago, Rochester Works partnered with Access VR and local experts from programs who serve individuals in recovery to provide a webinar called Creating a Recovery-Friendly Workplace. So this was aimed towards employers who were looking to provide more support to their employees in recovery. We have found throughout this whole process, employers are engaged and interested in all of these topics, but specifically mental health and recovery, we've had a great interest in recently. So we are looking forward to more that we can plan to offer businesses. So David, you want to talk about your area for businesses?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lindsay. A big thing that we started here back in February, one of our partners here is named FLACRA, or Finger Lakes Area Counseling and Recovery Agency. And I had the opportunity for the last year and a half to really partner with them and explore their services and what they offer to the community as well. One of the big takeaways I learned was their peer specialist program, which really focused on helping people with substance abuse issues, mental health issues as well, receive services, but also take that next step towards their employment goals. Once we figured this out and I had more time to learn about it, we started talking about how we could collaborate that and bring it out to community providers. We are in early stages of this where we're communicating, we're trading information, and we're really getting ready to roll this out, where we're going to try to use their peer specialist model for support to bring it into our communities and to utilize that for those who might be struggling day to day in their own local employers who don't have these services available. we are looking to make this a low cost of free service or training that other employers can get a hold of, and then maybe make adjustments to really help their staff become the word escapes me, but to continue moving forward with their employment goals, either be part-time or full-time. Other collaborations I've had with local school districts as well really focus in on those next steps for employment with the benefits advisement and really counseling that forward.
All right, Sarah, we'll turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, both Lindsay and David. I love the work that you have done in New York, from the employer workshops to the partnerships over schools and vocational rehabilitation and with behavioral health providers. I just really thought about this holistically, and I am so glad that you were able to present for us today some of that work that you have done, some amazing work. So we have some time for questions, and FYI, if you have a question that you would like to ask any of the presenters we have on today, please, the Q&A box that's at the bottom of the screen, feel free to type a question in there, and we'd be happy to try to get it answered. We have a few already in here, and so I think this one is probably for Annie, but I'm sure anyone can answer. What's something you say that helps job seekers feel safe opening up about stress or mental health?
Thanks, Sarah. One thing I often say is you're not alone. Many people experience a mental health condition or everyday stressors when looking for work, and it really helps people feel like they're not being singled out and that we're all here to support them as a whole person, not just focusing on some of signs or the job search. It kind of creates the space for honest conversation and lays the groundwork to keep the engagement, to keep the process going.
Thank you. All right. We have so many good questions. Oh, here's a good one. And this probably David and Lindsay, if you can want to respond. Someone asked, if a workforce program has limited resources, where would you suggest they start when addressing mental health needs?
Hi, this is Lindsay. I would suggest reaching out to just local mental health providers. Like locally here, we have Mental Health Association. Just start there. You know, they would probably be a wealth of information on where to point you towards. But just start learning about what is available in your area and maybe invite them to come speak to your staff. When we do our presentations or have individuals come to our site, we're generally, nothing is really costing a lot of money to have people present. We're all sharing information, so it's serving both sides. So don't think that it's going to cost a lot of money to do this. It's really just learning more and asking questions.
I love that. Can I add to that, Lindsay? I think it really does start with staff awareness, training a team to recognize some of those signs and knowing how to connect the people to community resource. Like Lindsay said, it's low cost and high impact. And even those small changes, like adjusting how we talk with job seekers, it helps people stay engaged and make that progress.
Thank you. Yes. Virginia has asked in the question, she said, very impressive and thank you. She's asking, though, if any of you know about any enhanced recovery services that are available in other states.
So this is Lindsay. I mentioned the enhanced recovery services. So as far as I know, it's I only know here in our area in Rochester, New York. It's something that we've kind of developed over the years, and they've received different grants for this program. So there could be something that has a very similar model in other areas, just called different things.
Thank you. And Chris Palmer is asking, mainly David and Lindsay, she says in New York, what practices have you found work with employers in their openness to accommodate people with mental illness? Do you think employers need to learn more about accommodations?
Sarah, can you repeat that one more time? This is
Of
David. I'm
course I
sorry.
can, David. In New York, what practices have you found work with employers in their openness to accommodate people with mental illness? Do you think employers need to learn more about accommodations? Obviously, we did a workshop recently, so I'm sure you have some thoughts about this, both of you, but go ahead.
Um, let me take a stab at the other one. Do you think that employers need to learn more about easy accommodations? I think employers are aware of accommodations, but I think they also need a refresher, just like day in and day out. Um, Things change overnight, things change monthly. So to know new rules and to new things like that, I think all employers could benefit even from just a hey, heads up, this is what came down the pipeline. We just want to make sure you're aware of it kind of conversation. And to start those, I really start with HR representatives and then move into leadership based off of their HR recommendations. So if an HR says, "Well, I have this manager who could utilize this type of training," that's my door in, so I can start providing them, avenues to benefit their employees.
Awesome.
And
Go ahead, Lindsay.
can I add to that? This is Lindsay. So I'll say we've been doing more employer trainings one-on-one recently, again, in partnership with Access VR. So we're kind of, when we do, I mentioned earlier, disability etiquette trainings, we're just really starting, as overall, what is disability, what falls under disability. We'll talk a lot about invisible versus visible disabilities, and again, normalize that conversation about, how if somebody, looks one way, it might not be how they're feeling inside. So we'd really kind of just want to provide that education, because I do think, as David agreed with, employers do need to learn more about how accommodations work and how a lot of them are not costly. Again, going back to the finance piece, a lot of accommodations are free. So I think there's just concern, and they just don't know what they don't know, right? So we have to provide a little education.
Awesome. You know what? I have a question, and there's a similar question on here that I would love to know is what are some ways that job centers can demonstrate that this is a stigma-free environment, that they're there to support people with mental health conditions, whether that's on our website or visual cues in the center alone? What are some ways that people could really demonstrate to say, hey, this is a safe place to talk about this, and we're here to support you?
I can start, but I hope David and Lindsay can hop on also. But I think one of the most effective approaches is to make mental health part of the everyday conversation. When staff are modeling the understanding and talking about mental health the same way we talk about other life challenges, it helps people feel more at ease. I also love sharing recovery success stories, highlighting a person that has gone to work that might have a mental health condition, and then making sure we're promoting those available resources to show that that support is available. So you might have some additional community resources available, but I bet David and Lindsay might have an example of some of those things.
I will add that just by starting a conversation with somebody and saying, how are you? How are you doing with this process? When we're working with job seekers, a lot of times they're coming in, they could be right in, crisis mode still. They either lost their job or they've been long-term unemployed. So people have a lot going on, right? So this is probably something that's happening more often than people are reporting or documenting, on our forums when they come in the office. So just really opening up that conversation about how are you doing right now? And you'll learn a lot by just listening.
I would agree with Lindsay on that. Our person centered service folk or cheapers, our person centered focused services where we really dive into that individual to help them is the benefit there, because we can have those conversations with them one on one. In a comfortable position, we can have them with an employment counselor too. There might be something that I missed that an employment counselor picks up on that we can talk about later. And then we can bring those resources back and say, hey, at our last conversation, this is what we noted. Would it be okay if we explored these options and to see what's available out there for you?
Thank you. David, you may have a cold today, but you have been so informative and so helpful. I really appreciate you sticking with it. All right. Well, we probably have time for one more question, and then we're going to have to follow up. And we've gotten this question several times, so I can answer it. People are asking about the links and the resources that are in the chat. Several links have been shared in the chat. Thank you to those who've been sharing. Yes, we will have PowerPoint links and resources and all of that stuff in the Lead Center website about 10 days from now, give or take. It'll be recorded. So if you have a coworker who's like, I think they'd really love to hear this, you'll be able to share it. So please be on the lookout for that. If you want to go to the next slide, please. If you have not been familiar before, if this is your first time interacting with the Lead Center, welcome. We have a lot of good stuff that hopefully you would be interested in, aside from the webinar coming up. We have this really cool state-specific and policy data map. It has a way that you can support, like, so in your state, wondering what's going on, policies, initiatives, services, if you want to better understand what's happening in your state and opportunity for how you can make your workforce system more accessible for people with disabilities and what's going on. We had easy navigation tools. You can select any state and you can explore unique policies, innovative strategies, data, and all of that information. And it's regularly updated. You can go to the next slide. And we have more resources that we wanted to share with you. If you're not familiar with the Campaign for Disability Employment, they have a really excellent campaign on mental health called Mental Health at Work. What can I do? They have posters. So we're talking about visual cues in a center, workplace mental health guides, and all of their campaign tools are designed to educate managers and leaders and coworkers and anybody with a mental health condition or is supporting someone about the roles that we all play in promoting a mental health friendly workplace. And it's very true, whether you are working on a front line or you are the director of a center or you work in another area, everyone plays a role in supporting a healthy mental health workplace, mental health friendly workplace. All right, and go to the next slide. And if you are interested in the Lead Center, not just the map, see what else we've got going on and, want to get more than just the archived webinar, although, I'm sure that'll be really exciting too. leadcenter.org, leadcenter.org. You can go on the website and you can sign up for information and notifications. And if you heard something today, like from New York, and you're thinking, you know what? I would love to get some guidance or some strategies on how our workforce area can be more accessible, how we can better support people with mental health needs, or we can better partner and collaborate with others like New York was talking about today, or, educating employers. Any of that, any way that you're thinking about how do we make our workforce system more accessible, please reach out to us. We would love to hear from you and we would love to learn from you and see how we can support you as well. But please go on our website, sign up for our updates. And also, next slide. We are on all the socials, so please also follow the Lead Center on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, YouTube as well. Obviously we'll share updates on there as well. And then I think we are about through. I want to thank everyone who joined us today. I really appreciate the time. I want to especially thank Richard Davis for opening remarks, Annie for sharing her expertise, and obviously David and Lindsay from New York. And I love the work you're doing. And all I can say is just keep it up. I think that I'm always impressed when I hear about what the good folks in New York State are doing. So with that said, thank you for joining, and I hope you will be in touch with us. Again, sign up for updates on leadcenter.org, and have a great afternoon.